A reading from the Gospel of John. After this, there was a festival of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there's a pool called in Hebrew Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who'd been ill for 38 years. Now when Jesus saw him lying there, and he knew that he'd been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I'm making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat, and walk." At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. Now that day was a Sabbath, so the Jews said to the man who'd been cured, "It is a Sabbath. It's not lawful for you to carry your mat." But he answered them, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Take up your mat and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is this man who said to you, 'Take it up and walk'?" Now the man who'd been healed did not know who he was, for Jesus had disappeared in the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you've been made well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse happens to you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Therefore, the Jews began persecuting Jesus because he was doing such things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, "My Father is still working, and I also am working." For this reason, the Jews were seeking all the more to kill him, because he was not only breaking the Sabbath, but was also calling God his own Father, thereby making himself equal to God. There's a lot going on in this account from John's Gospel. The second part of it, we hear really how this is working. Jesus is making claims about the Sabbath and about God's work, and God's still working, and he himself working on Sabbath, and making some claims that are counter to the culture of the time and the culture of the temple. But I want to focus actually on the first part of this story, and really on one phrase. And that is the person who's lying in the porticos and by these healing waters. And just a little bit of background, the understanding of the time was when the waters were stirring, that's when you could be healed. And so people would all rush down. And this person, because he had mobility issues, said, "I'm not able to get down there." Perfectly reasonable explanation. He can't get down there. That's why he hasn't been able to do so, despite having been sick for so many years. And Jesus changes this man's life with one question, and that is, do you want to be made well? Do you want to be made well? I think this question of Jesus, which turns not only this man's life upside down, but turns upside down all of our notions as people who tend to think, who have a work ethic about our lives, who think we've got to do the right program, or we've got to take the right course, or we've got to work in the right way and have the right disciplines, and sometimes are prone to building up stories about our lives. I could have done this except that, or I would do this except I have all these things standing in my way. Jesus simply looks at this man and says, "Do you wish to be made well?" There's something about Jesus looking into the face of one of God's beloved children, you and me, and asking us directly, set aside for a minute all of your stories about why you are where you are. Set aside for a moment your very reasonable explanations about why you haven't gotten it done. Do you want to be made well? This is a question that you and I can and should ask ourselves, especially in this season of Lent, as we are seeking to find the places in our lives where we're stuck, find the places in our lives where we have a story about why we're not better yet, why we have a story about why we haven't accomplished this or that yet, a story about why we haven't gotten around to having that relationship with God that we've always meant to have because fill in the blank. Jesus asks, do you want to be made well? I hope that that question will find its lodging in your heart this day and in your mind. And if there's any place in your life where you, like the man in today's gospel story, are lying about in a portico and telling yourself stories about why you can't, let it be known that Jesus has shown us in this story that you might not be able to, but God can. So offer those places to God and know that you are beloved right where you are. May God bless you and keep you this day and always. Amen.